What's up, BF fam? This is Big Tone coming at you again with another video from Beats and Feasts. Hey guys, we're gonna do a requested video that's been requested a couple times. Just regular good old soul food collard greens. We're gonna do it my way. I don't know, everybody cooks their greens a little bit different, but we're definitely gonna do it my way in this video. But before we even get started with that, you know how I get down. I need you to go smack that like button. Go ahead and smack it. Smack it. Have you done it yet? Comment and subscribe, okay guys? But I appreciate everyone who's done that so far and keeping me having the incentive to keep doing these YouTube videos. But we're gonna get started with this video, and leave your comments below and let me know what you guys think. Fam, to get started doing some good old-fashioned greens my way, I'm gonna show you my little supporting cast here of the ingredients and the spices that I use, or the seasoning that I use. But first, I use ham hock. Now there's a big discrepancy on healthier greens toward, greens that aren't so healthy. I use ham hock. I tried to use smoked turkey before, smoked turkey necks, I should say. And it comes out good, but I'm sticking with my old school, the way my mom and dad showed me. But I'm using smoked ham hocks. I got another one in here already, just showing you what it is. So it's the same ham hock. Then I'm also using what they call now smoked bacon seasoning. In the old days, my mom and dad called this either jow bacon or Joe bacon, okay? So it's a smoked version of it. It gives out that smoky flavor. So essentially all you do is I'm gonna put the ham hock here in the water, and I'm gonna show you a picture over top of this so you can see how much water I put in. By the way, I am using my power pressure cooker. So this is greens in the power pressure cooker, okay? Normally greens take, well, for me, I put greens on, cook them for a few hours, then I put them down to really low simmer and cook them. I could cook them all night. But in any case, the pressure cooker speeds up that process, so that's what I'm gonna be doing today. And then we're gonna put in our Joe bacon or jow bacon, or now your smoked seasoning. So it comes in a vacuum sealed plastic wrap. So I'm just gonna peel this off, and I'm just gonna throw it in the water. So I'm gonna show you a shot of it here in the water so you can see. And we basically just fill it until all your meat is just covered. So this is seasoning just to make sure that you season the water, okay? So I'll show you another picture of that. All right guys, so when we put the meat into this, all we're gonna do now is we're gonna put pressure on this pressure cooker. We're basically cooking the meat, okay? So I'm gonna put the pressure on here. I'm gonna put the lid on, and then on the back of here, I don't know if you can see it, but I'm gonna lock it in so it provides pressure. If you're not sure how to do that, go ahead and follow your instructions in the manual. All right. So we got pressure there, and then we're gonna put this on for 15 minutes. So I'm gonna push the meat and chicken button, and then I'm gonna increment this to high, but then I'm gonna bring it down to 15 minutes. So as you see, it's 15 minutes. It's gonna start going around and around here in just a moment. And then it's gonna start building pressure. At that point, once it gets the pressure built, then it'll cook for 15 minutes. That'll put that seasoning, that smoked bacon, the Joe bacon, and the ham hocks into the water. And then at that point, we're gonna be ready to do my greens. But in the meantime, I'm gonna go ahead and show you how I clean my greens, okay? All right guys, so just to show you how I clean my greens, how I pick my greens, and how I wash them and clean them. If you guys haven't used collard greens before, this is what they look like. They come in leaves. I remember back in the day when I was young, my dad used to take me out to cook greens, or to pick greens out of the field. So, but greens basically have a long stem, or collard greens have a stem down the middle. Most of all greens do, because that's what they grow from. But basically all I do is I take them and I tear them down the stem, okay? All the way down. It gives me, one leaf, and then I do the other side. This is probably the most time-consuming part of the whole picking of greens. So this part, yes, I know everybody says the greens have the nutrients in the stem and all that stuff. That's great. You guys can keep those greens. I don't really like them. I don't like cooking my greens and then I have a whole bunch of stems in it. I just don't like it. So that's a personal preference, but everybody has their own preference. So if you want to keep them in there, feel free. but I take them out. I just only cook the leaves, okay? So anyway, I continue doing that with all the greens. I got more greens in this, but I'm just showing you how I actually pick them. So this usually takes me a little bit of time. So you got to be careful and just take your time. And greens are not a fast cooking food, typically. So if I was to do this in a regular pot, I literally could cook greens all night, slow and low, and let them just stew and get nice and tender. But in the pressure cooker, that just totally speeds that up. But I got a couple more here to do. This brings me back to when my mom used to say, help me pick some greens. So I usually keep the bag that they came in here. And so what I do from here, I just take each one, I put them in a group of maybe 5 or 6 of them or so. And then here's how I do them. I fold them over a couple times, and then I tear them lengthwise. And then I put those two together, and then I rip them this way. Some people like to cut them off the stem, and that's fine. Again, a personal preference. But I like the old-fashioned, my mom tear method, okay? So I just continue doing this until I get my nice little sack of greens. And then I'll show you guys how I wash them off, okay? But I'm going to do this real quick for you. And one more to go. So they don't have to be uniform. Greens are not perfect. You know, sometimes when people cut them, they do become perfect and nice and chiffonade cuts, but you don't necessarily need that. But anyway, I get my bag of greens here, and like I said, I've done a lot more, but I have those washing. I'm going to show you how I wash these off, okay? Give me a second, we'll be back at the sink. So real quick, we're here at the sink. As you can see, I got my greens soaking in water here. They've been soaking for a little bit here, okay? So typically, back in the old days when we used to pick greens in the fields, the greens would have a lot of dirt, sand on them. So the whole idea is when you put them in water here, obviously the sand is heavier, so the sand would go to the bottom of the water, then your greens would be clean. But the most important part is when you put them in the water, make sure you separate them, because when you tear them, you know, if you don't get them separated, then the dirt and the sand is still going to stay there. Granted, nowadays everything's bought at the store, so we don't have as much sand, although I've seen some dirty greens, but we don't have as much sand as we used to back in the day when my dad used to say, let's go pick some greens. So anyway, so I've been washing these, so you can see they come out in leaves like this. So typically what I do, one second, let me get a colander. All right, guys, so I got my colander here. So typically all I do is pick the greens up from the top. I just bring them over to my colander. This seems like there's a lot here, but this is going to cook down similar to spinach. So I just place them in my colander here, push them down, because this is going to be overflowing. Try to get as much water out as I can. Make sure your sinks are clean. Do not do this in a dirty sink. So spend the time and clean out your sink. All right. As you can see, the water turns a nice little greenish color here. Obviously, that's the chloroform coming off the greens a little bit. All right, so then we're stuck with our nice little dirty green water. So the sand and stuff obviously goes to the bottom. And at that point, we take our greens and we put them in a pressure cooker. So I'll be right back in just a moment, okay? All right, BFM, so I've already got my pressure cooker. Got the lid off of it. I released the pressure. So the ham hock and the jowl bacon have already cooked, seasoning the water, which was my main purpose. So now we're gonna I'm gonna show you my supporting cast as follows for the rest of the greens. So we're using minced garlic, just regular black pepper, Himalayan sea salt, pink Himalayan sea salt. We're gonna add 1 onion as a coarse chop. And then thanks to one of my colleagues at work, Dodie, he provided me some jalapenos and some habaneros. I'm not gonna touch the habaneros. I'm gonna use 1 jalapeno in the greens as well. And then a little bit of just pure vegetable oil. So my next step is just basically doing, as I said earlier, a rough cut of the onions. Doesn't have anything to do, it doesn't have to be perfect by any means. So we're just gonna add that to the water. All right, so a whole onion here. I'm gonna add 1 whole jalapeno pepper. And you know, Dodie had mentioned that these are different grades, so this may be a little hotter than normal. So I am gonna add the whole thing, but one half of it, oh, this is red on the inside. I haven't seen this before. But I am gonna take out the ribs and the seeds on one half, because normally I don't take out any of the seeds. But I'm gonna do that for this one. I'm gonna dice it up just a little bit. I'm just gonna cut it in juliennes here. Now the other one, the other half of it, I'm gonna leave them in there. I'm taking out half the seeds. I don't know how hot this is, so may keep your stool regular. Anyway, I'm gonna add that in. All right, and then I'm gonna add the salt and pepper. I'm gonna add last. I'm gonna add 1 tablespoon, heaping tablespoon of garlic. Minced garlic. I'm cheating a little bit. I don't have any whole garlic yet. All right, so that's 1 heaping tablespoon of garlic. And now I'm gonna add the greens. I'm gonna salt and pepper after I've added the greens. So give me a second, I'll add the greens for you. See, the greens are here. Hopefully you can see this. But it's a lot, it looks like it's a lot of greens, but like I said earlier, it's gonna cook down to nothing. So I'm gonna be very careful here and just add the greens a little bit at a time. This part becomes a little bit messy because you end up getting greens all over the place. But I'm gonna add these greens here just a little bit at a time. Now, what total greens here that I have are 6 bundles of greens from the grocery store. That's about normally what I cook for, you know, about 3 or 4 people, and that gives us quite a bit of leftovers. But in any case, we got all of our greens in here. Given the time that I'm going to cook this at, it's going to be for a couple hours. Usually about 1.5 hours, maybe 1:45 minutes. I think this is going to be about a 2-hour cook. Normally, like I said, my greens I will cook. I can cook them all night sometimes. So I'm going to add a little bit of salt here. And a little bit of pepper. I'm going to add more to taste as in between my times of starting the pressure cooker over, because this pressure cooker only has a 1-hour setting on high. So I'm going to go ahead and place the lid on, as I always do. All right, I'm going to lock it up so it provides pressure for it. And if you can see the front of the panel here, I'm just going to hit again the meat and chicken button. It's going to give it, oops, I got to stop it. 15 minutes, I'm going to move that to high, which is going to give it 1 hour. And you'll see it start to go around again. There we go. Now it's going to start building pressure. It won't take as long this time because the pressure cooker's already heated up a little bit. But I'll be back in an hour and I'll show you what it is. I'll give it a taste test, and then I know I'm going to start it over again, so I'll add some more salt, some pepper, and maybe a little bit of vegetable oil. All right, I'll see you in about an hour. All right, guys, so I've released the pressure here, and I'm going to take off the lid. Always take off the lid away from you. Okay. And I'll put it down. So the greens look pretty good. I think you can see inside here. Starting to get there. As I told you before, this is an 1.5 to 2 hour cooking process. Much quicker than it would be in a conventional pot on the stove. So we're going to speed up this time a little bit here. But we're going to go ahead and I'm going to add a little bit, well, not a little bit, I'm going to add a little salt here. It's a lot of greens, so you got to get the salt in there. So that's why I didn't add a lot of salt ahead of time, because I knew I was going to be adding more later. Pepper, regular black pepper. All right, I'm going to stir it around in here just a little bit. As you can see, I think you can see this, but that ham hock has all come apart. So it's cooking really nicely, so we're going to stir this up a little bit. And then I'm gonna add a little bit more salt. I mean, you think it's a lot of salt, but it's really not. All right, guys. All right, stirring that around just a little bit. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna put my pressure cooker back on. Or the lid back on. I shouldn't have said that like that, but anyway. I'm gonna lock it back up. So we got pressure, line up the little arrow so we got pressure. And I'm just gonna put it on for another hour here. Like I said, we're gonna start it for another hour. And I'm just gonna hit the meat chicken button. 15 minutes, increment it to high, it goes right to an hour. It'll start going around here in just a moment. I'm gonna push the lid down just a little bit, just to make sure it seats really nice around there. So it's gonna go around, probably in about the next 5 minutes. It'll start at an hour, and it'll count down, and then we'll be back when the greens are done. See you in a bit. All right, BF fam, so we're back here with the finished product, another perfection in the bowl. Old-fashioned collard greens with a little onion and some ham hock in the bowl. Nothing like it. Hey guys, if you like this video, go ahead and like, comment, and subscribe, and go ahead and share the video, okay? And if you want me to cook anything, just leave them in the comments and I'll try to accommodate. But until next time, this is Big Tone signing off. Peace.